Okay, I'm back, and now we're just about ready to conduct the experiment. So what I've got set up for you is a photometer that is going to be measuring the apparent brightness F of the light bulb over here. The light bulb is hooked up to the power supply. We can measure the voltage going to the light bulb as long as this blue button is not pushed in. So the readout on the power supply is going to tell me the voltage on the light bulb. We're going to do 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 volts. So if you'll scroll on down to your data table, the very first column, enter those numbers: 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So those are going to be the voltages that we're going to be using in this experiment. For each of those voltages, we'll then push in the button and then record what the current is that goes with it. And that's going to go in the second column. And then in the column that is labeled measured light bulb brightness F, that's what you're going to write whatever the reading is on the photometer. So that's what you're going to put in your lab. And then once we've collected our data, then I can turn on the lights, and then we will be able to actually calculate stuff with it. Okay? So let me enlarge this. Okay, now we're going to turn out the lights. Alright, now I'm going to turn up. I've got the button out, so it's giving me the voltage. I'm going to increase the voltage until it is 2 volts. Right there. Okay, so you should be able to see that the voltage on that is 2 volts. Okay, now in case you can't see the readout on the photometer, it's saying 0.001. That's the reading on the photometer. Okay, now I'm going to press in the blue button, and you should be able to write down the reading on the power supply. That's going to be the current. So that's going to go in the second column. So in the first column, you should have 2 volts, and then in the second column, I'll just go ahead and tell you, this is 1. So 1.0 is your amperage. That goes in the second column. And then the measured reading on the photometer, the measured brightness of the light bulb, is 0.001. Okay, now I'm going to go back to voltage. I'm going to increase the voltage now to 4. Okay, now I'm going to, there is the current. So write down that number for the current. And just in case you can't read it, the readout on the photometer is 0.009. Okay, we're going to go back to voltage. We're going to increase the voltage to 6. Okay, the current that corresponds to that is 1.6 amps, and the readout on the photometer is 0.033. Okay, now I'm going to go up to 8. Twitchy. Alright, so now it's up to 8. Okay, you write down what the reading is for the current. The readout on the photometer is 0.073. So now we're ready for our last voltage. We're going to crank it up to 10. The current, go ahead and write that number down for your current. And then the readout on the photometer is now 0.13. 0.13. Okay, I'm going to turn the voltage back down, turn on the lights. And now we're ready to continue with the lab. Okay. So that was the lab. Now it's just a matter of fixing it up here. Alright, the next thing that you're going to need to do is calculate the resistance of your light bulb. So we're going to calculate the resistance. So there is a formula from physics which relates the voltage on an object to the current through the object to the resistance of the object. So it's called Ohm's law. V equals IR. So that's Ohm's law. V equals IR. Now, you know what the V is. You know what the I is. So calculate the resistance for each of the 5 different voltages. So you're now going to fill in the third column. Okay, just pause me until you're ready to go on. Okay, so now let's go to the fourth column. We need to find R divided by R sub 0. So R sub 0 was the resistance of the light bulb when there was no electricity going to it, and that was the one in which we used the multimeter in order to find its resistance. So you should have that number. So you're going to take each of your resistances from column number 3 and then divide it by that number. So the number that you got off of this, divide it by that number, and then fill in column number 4. Okay, now the hard part. So now you've got a list of R divided by R sub zeros. What I would do is on a separate sheet of paper, write down those numbers. So write down those 5 numbers for your R divided by R sub 0, because what you're going to do next is scroll on down in the lab until you come to that big chart. So keep on going down into the lab until you come to a chart that has a diagonal line on it, and it has the R divided by R sub 0, going on the vertical axis, and then it has the temperature going on the horizontal axis. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that your R divided by R sub 0 was 10. So that you would look on the up and down part until you get to 10. Then you're going to go sideways until you get to the curve, and then go down. So for a value of R divided by R sub 0 of 10, that corresponds to a temperature of 2000 Kelvin. That would be the temperature of the filament in the light bulb. So I need for you, for each of your 5 values of R divided by R sub 0, I want you to find the corresponding temperature that goes with it. Okay, I'm going to pause the tape, and when we come back, we're going to continue to fill in the lab.